Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Success Life Live and our Fun Friend Friday edition. I am so excited for Fun Friend Friday. We're going to be talking with Jess A Cruz. Whoops, sorry, that wasn't cool. Live Your Dash, discover the 8 F's to freedom. I am sure you're going to love it. I have been enjoying the book. Just literally got it in the mail, I think it was Monday morning. And have been pouring through it. It's a wonderful book, wonderful book. And so take a moment, step in the room, say good morning. Saw you sneaking in there, Elizabeth. See you, Julia, and good morning, Nellie. And there is Jesse. I know he's like sitting on edge, like, we did a test drive, but I always, I got to tell you, I'm fiddling with my chair, just so y'all know. I always appreciate the guest because it is really being put on the spot. It is being called out, but they all have such purpose and passion and desire to serve people that they jump and take flight without a lot of prep and without a lot of planning. One of the questions I always get asked is, what are you going to ask me? What are the 4 or 5 questions you're going to ask me? And truth, and I say this not to say that I'm not prepared or that I don't take time to get prepared, but what happens is often I will read the book, read the bios, listen to YouTube channels that they may have, or their podcasts, or just sort of do a social media get to know them. And then we do a test drive often on Thursday, a really quick technology test drive. And then I'll just sit back and I'll just sort of let it all filter through and bumble down, and then I'll sort of pray into it. It's like, what do I need to know from this person? What is the lesson that I'm seeking that brought me into their awareness, into their place, into connectivity with them? Good morning, Gail. And so often I'll sit there and I'm like, what is it that I'm like, what is going on in my life, my experience, my journey that this person has arrived in? Show me, teach me, tell me. And if it's not for me, what is it I'm supposed to know? And then we show up and go. So, there's prep work. Yeah, I do my homework. Yeah, I know who and what they're about, but I don't necessarily always know the questions. And so for that, I always give kudos out to my guests because they show up sort of, like, hey, we'll just experience it together. So let me take a moment and invite my guest into the room now. And so I've sent the invite. I did this backwards. Sorry, Jesse. Go ahead, Jesse, and do me a favor real quick and just say hello or hi or good morning so I can find you in the feed one more time. It seems to have misplaced you. Or go ahead and accept the invite or ask to be invited. So again, with the technology, it is what it is. You got to work within what you got. I keep thinking I need to switch over to Be Live or Zoom or the 5,000 or 6,000 other platform tools that are out there. But you know what? It works for what we got. I try and stay within there we go. Within the simplicity of life, one tool, one mistake, 10 tools opens me up for 10 mistakes, and see, it works every time.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am good. You have the nervous smile on your face. Oop, I lost your sound for a second.
Okay.
There you go. I said you had the nervous smile on your face.
Yeah, I'm ready though.
How can you be nervous? You have 2 daughters, 12 and 10. Was it? I think I just messed that up, didn't I?
No, that's correct.
That's got to make you more nervous than this. Them hitting preteens and teen.
Yeah, every day. Yep. That's something to be concerned with every day. That's for sure.
A shout out to moms. You got to give moms credit, but us dads, we got it worse. I truly think we do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I don't think we are equipped the same way that that moms were, and so we just fumble our way through it. And so that just sets us up for more failure and more nerves. So good morning. I have your book. There we go. Live Your Dash, Discovering the 8 F's to Freedom. You got to get your name up there so everybody knows where to find you. Your book is available on Amazon. Later, we're going to drop the link to where they can find the book directly through you. So they can get one of them that has your signature in the front page. Somewhere it's, oh, there it is for me. I got to tell you, good book.
Thank you.
Good book. Somebody reads a lot of books. So tell people a little bit about your background and what you're currently doing. Then we're going to jump into the book.
So I'm married with children, as you commented earlier. I currently work at youth advocate programs. I'm assistant director there, and that's a mentoring program for youth and families to help them develop their skills and work on their strengths, and to be there as someone to just guide them and to support them and build a trusting relationship with, to help them be successful in the future. So our role is to just be there for them and whatever they may need, that we have their back. And then I jumped into writing because I was passionate about it, and that's just kind of where I'm at right now.
And you dedicated the book to your angel daughter.
Yes, that's correct.
So as I said, you have 2 princesses and an angel. So 3 daughters. And that was just a little over a year ago, almost 2 years now.
Yes.
One of the things that, before we dig into the book, we had talked about last night, that support network that disappeared. A brief history, your daughter, was it 30 some
42 days.
42 days. I apologize. So for 42 days, you held her. And when she was gone, you discovered that your support network also went away.
I mean, it definitely had a huge shift. I mean, there was people who I didn't really know. Now I call them like best friends. And some people who I may have looked at as best friends that I don't know anymore from that experience.
So why do you think it shifted?
I think that the people who stepped up had more peace about who they are in their lives and have accepted that their time on earth, as everybody else's, will expire. And I think they had peace about where they're going. And maybe the other people who didn't reach out to me have some, it's possible that they're unsure. They just haven't accepted the fact that death is a part of life. So I just feel like they couldn't reach out to me. They didn't know what to say to me because they're still trying to figure this whole thing out themselves.
That's an interesting, if I don't know what I'm doing or going, when it comes close to me, I can't relate to it or share with it or guide somebody. So instead of simply walking up and saying, hey, dude, I'm completely confused, but here's, lasagna and dinner salad so you don't have to think about it, they just completely abandon the conversation.
Yeah.
Is that what sparked? And so living your dash is, as we all know, on our tombstones, we have our birth date and we have our death date, and in between is a dash. And at one point I was having major medical surgery and I scheduled it on my birthday, so those 2 dates would look really close to, like, wait a minute, you born? Because I thought at least anybody that walks up and reads the date will have to take a pause and be like, what? What a crappy birthday. So the living your dash is really about learning to live in that space between your first breath and your last.
Yes.
Was that what sort of sparked your daughter's passing? Was that what sort of sparked you thinking about it, or had you already been working on the book?
So I've always wanted to write a book, but I never started writing one. And then when she passed away, I thought it'd be a way to honor her, to carry on her legacy as I watched her fight every single day, literally fighting for her life, and just being there and watching her strength through that whole thing. I was like, I got to do something for her, and she kind of showed me how to live, and that is to live every day. Every day is a battle. No matter what you go through, everyone has a battle, and I watched her battle, and I was like, that's just amazing. Here I am complaining about these little things in life, and for her, it was, a fight to breathe, and I just realized, I want to give a breath to other people who may feel like they have lost it because they're struggling so much that they just need some encouragement to get through the day.
And I'll say, if you've never been inside a NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, it is the most humbling, inspiring moment, because you have babies who are newborn that will reach out and touch human beings and connect in a way of desire to just take another breath, and the fight and the passion to live that they have when they haven't experienced ice cream, when they haven't been to the beach, when they haven't had true hugging joy. Like, all of these little NICU babies are fighting harder to live life, and they haven't really even experienced it yet, than the people standing on the other side of the plastic bubble that have everything around them, are sort of giving up without even fighting. And so I love the way in your book you start to teach us how to fight or discover those 8 F's for freedom.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just in the writing process, I was like, there was 8 areas in my life that during that crisis helped me get through it. So I was like, well, these are the 8 areas that helped me during the worst time in my life. So I think that everyone at some point will experience some setbacks and will need this method and this strategy to help them get successful on the other side.
So when we're talking about the 8 areas, or as you titled them, the 8 dashes, these are areas that you feel that if you learn to live intentionally into, you will live a more free life.
Absolutely. It's a daily thing for sure.
And so I'm going to help you, because I know getting them all in order and everything without the book in front of you isn't. And I got the book. So the first one is the focus dash. And then is the fitness dash, and then the friendship dash, and the fun dash, the finance dash, and the forgiveness dash, or the 8 areas that you feel that they're focused. What I love about the way you wrote the book, and I'll sort of show you guys, I know you guys can't read it, but they're little sort of mini lessons. And when I was talking to Jesse last night, it was like, dude, this is more like a devotional. This is like 1 lesson a day broken into 8 areas of growth. Because as I was reading it, it was like, man, that's a lesson by itself. I don't want to keep reading the book. So if you're somebody that sometimes like, oh gosh, I don't have time to read another book, this isn't a read a book kind of thing. This may be a book that you keep on your nightstand, you keep it on your desk, in the front seat of your car, and when you're struggling, when you're feeling really disconnected, and whether it's on friendship or finance or fitness or one of the other dash areas, you could literally pick this book up, find one of the subheadings, and just read that and be satisfied. It's not a book that you have to go all the way cover to cover with. Like, one of my favorites was on the focus, in the focus section, and it's the small things, which happens to be the first one, but I did make it past that just for reading. Talk about the small things.
That's such a great story. We had made big plans to go to this park and see one of the most beautiful sights in our area, and it was beautiful, and it was hard work. It was a lot of hiking. It was physically demanding, and we saw so many, gorges and waterfalls and places to swim. And I was like, man, this is like the most beautiful place I've ever been. And I was like, I just love this place. So many great memories here. And, comes time to leave the park. And, we look back and say, well, kids, what was the best part of the trip? And they said, skipping rocks. I said, what? Skipping rocks? They're like, yeah, skipping rocks, Dad. And I was just like, what? Like, we could have stayed home and skipped rocks. We didn't have to drive an hour and a half away to go skip rocks. We got water right next to where we live. And I was like mad, and then like confused, and then happy because we enjoyed ourselves. But, I was looking at the big picture. I was looking at all the big main event. But, a lot of times the main event in life is just the little small things. And for them, it was just skipping rocks. And that was important to them. And that's something that they still talk about to this day. Not the big, huge waterfalls and big places to swim and all that. It's just something that they always remembered. And now when they go on hikes with their friends, they teach them how to skip rocks. So I'm trying to look at life that, there's these small moments, teachable moments every day. You never know when your next great family memory or great memory is going to happen. It can happen anywhere.
And I have to agree because I'm a little bit of an over planner or recovering over planner. And I remember we went on a family trip and I had it like planned. I knew where we were going. I knew the destination. I knew the impact it would have when we like came over the hill and the whole thing. Like, yeah, I got this. I'm gonna be superhero. Well, it was the worst trip on the planet. They were complaining about the heat in the car, no snacks, no food, not stopping. We almost ran out of gas and we didn't, where we were, there weren't a lot of, I mean, everybody bitched and moaned the whole time. I was like, but I went to all this effort to make it special. And as you pointed out in that lesson, I was focused on the event, not the people.
That's right.
And as soon as I began to shift those big adventures, I was like, okay, what do you guys want to do? And what would be a big adventure for you guys? And do you have the snacks? And did we all go to the bathroom? No matter how far we went, it was a lot more fun because they were included. And so I love the way you sort of got humbled by the girls in the back seat complaining about, yeah, we just had fun skipping rocks. And you're looking at your American Express invoice like, man, I could have like saved myself $100. What was one of the other big lessons that your daughters have taught you that you included in the
Well, which was one of my favorite stories. So, one of my daughters, she had a homework assignment. So she didn't even like teach me directly. She taught me through a homework assignment, and the assignment was, she was talking about her family, and she talked about her memories with her family, and so she shared two of her favorite memories with her dad. So I was so curious to see what it was, and I was like, I can't wait to see what she says about dad when I'm not around. And so she talks about one of her favorite memories was the first time we went parasailing in Bahamas, okay, which was a great memory for us. We've never done it before. We're in a different country on a family vacation of a lifetime. I was like, man, and it was awesome. So as soon as I read it, I was like, yeah, I remember that day. I'll never forget it. It was just amazing. And then her next memory was something in our backyard. And I was just so confused. She goes, when my dad goes outside and plays softball with me. And I was so confused. I said, how could something that I almost take for granted, something that I just do so regularly and naturally, it didn't cost me any money. It cost me most important thing, my time. And that's what kids really want, is your time, your undivided attention and time. And that's what I gave her consistently in the backyard, just playing softball. I just didn't know something that I do so regularly that to me was not a big deal. It just wasn't. I'm just playing catch. That's it. But to her, it was life-changing. So I guess you just never really know the impact you're making on your kids or your marriage or your family or your friends. You never really know what these little moments can mean to other people. And she just taught me that in a different way, that even the smallest little thing, like playing softball in the yard, could impact her for life. And now that's all she does. Softball all day, every day. That's her life.
So when you look at, and again, the book, you guys, Living Your Dash, Discovering Your 8 F's to Freedom, and that's a tricky one. You got to be careful with that 8 F's. Depends on the traffic jam I'm in, just saying. You're a service member, you served our country,
Yes.
and thank you for that. Highly disciplined, highly organized, regimented. You said you got up every morning and you would write for an hour. Or you didn't know if it was good or bad. You just sat down and got it done. So, in the DISC profile, have you ever done a DISC?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Could you say that again?
I said, have you ever done a DISC profile?
So, I mean, I looked into it. I've seen it before. I've checked it out.
Are you a D?
No.
Really?
No. At least at that time. I mean, this was years ago. Mine was more of I think it was the I.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So that.
You seem like a very disciplined person, and so I was going to ask, what was it when you say the lessons that I learned to discover my freedom? What was the one you resisted the most? Like, man, I'm not giving that up. That's not, we all push back against the thing we need to learn the most.
What was the thing that I pushed back the most?
Yeah. When you were finally breaking down and saying, you know what I was living didn't work. Where I want to go, this is the thing I've got to give up the most.
Um, I'd say forgiveness. Um,
Ooh.
I harbored a lot of anger, a lot of things that, when I was going through that traumatic experience, I had some of it was blaming myself, blaming my past, um, God, my parents. I mean, I was blaming everybody. I just was looking to someone to blame to make sense of the trauma that I was going through. And I just realized that's wrong, and I need to forgive others, and I need to know that I'm forgiven so I can get through this. And so forgiving is the greatest way to heal. And that's something I still struggle with. That's something I'm working on, but I knew that I had to forgive no matter what happened. I can't be mad at the doctors, the ambulance drivers. It's not, I mean, I was pointing fingers just trying to find a way to cope with it all, but it wasn't their fault. It wasn't my fault. It's just something that happened.
That's a Thank you for that, because what I heard you saying is, in my path to figuring out how to cope with it, I blamed others because that was a tool that I could use to breathe and get to the next moment. It wasn't a healthy tool,
No.
but as long as I had somebody to look at outside myself, I didn't have to look at the situation that I was facing.
Right. I mean, it was everybody, I mean, there was nobody
So
safe. It
often,
was everybody was getting blamed. In my own mind, I didn't like, literally go and tell them this is your fault, but in my head, in my own thoughts, which I became a prisoner of, it was everybody else's fault, including my own, and that just added to the stress.
man. So if I encounter somebody who's blaming me, instead of becoming defensive, maybe my response has to be to ask myself, if not them, what is the situation they're not coping with in a healthy way?
Yes.
Because if I know me and I know my position, either I can take on the responsibility or I can't. Like, look, I'm not responsible, dude. I'm not in charge of garbage pickup on Friday. I don't know why it didn't happen. I'm not responsible. Stop blaming me. I think we all naturally want to get in defense mode. Like, man, I can't believe, which is great because it gave you somebody to argue with. It gave you some place to let out the anger and the rage of what was happening. But my healthy response to somebody that would have encountered you in that moment really should have been like, this dude's not coping with something well, and he needs to blame me because he's not ready to see it. How can I help him?
A lack of forgiveness is a coping mechanism too. It's just not a healthy one. That's a lot of people are naturally set on that. If something goes wrong, it's always somebody else's fault. It's just easier to be mad at somebody else. This is how we are as human beings.
So, who was the last person that sort of through that experience that you forgave?
What do you say that again?
Who was the last person on that list that you finally released and said, I forgive you?
Well, for me, it was a conversation I had with a friend of mine, and he said something to me that shook me to the core. He said, "It's okay to be mad at God." And I was like, I'm confused by what are you even talking about? Because I never thought that was okay. He goes, no, it's okay to be mad at God. He goes, you have kids, right? I said, yeah. He goes, and they get mad at you, don't they? I said, yeah. He goes, but you can take it, can't you? I said, yeah, I can take it. He goes, why? Because you love them? I said, yeah. I said, my kids are going to get mad at me sometimes. They're not going to agree with what happens sometimes, but I'm still their dad and I'm still going to love them. And he says the same with God. He goes, you be mad at God. It's okay. He can take it. And when he said that, it was like a big weight off my shoulders. And I was like, you know what? It is okay to be mad. I can't stay that way forever, but it's okay to feel that way. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way. And when he said that, it was a big relief for me that, it's like a father-son or father-daughter relationship. It's a very strong relationship. And our relationships, we're going to still love people and not always like what happens, but we still need to forgive them, and it's okay to be mad at them for a while. And I was very angry, but I didn't know I was allowed to be. He said, give yourself permission to be mad. and I wouldn't do it. And he said that, and it changed everything.
He's a wise friend.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, and I think he's right. It's okay to be mad because in being mad, you're able to one, let go of the anger, but also you're able to say what you're mad about. And then I think it allows God in a way to say, I know what you see is happening, but trust me, if you could see what I see, if you could see where this journey's going, the anger would diminish. And it allows that journey of healing to begin. Because until you express, hey, I'm mad about the situation can't change. You have to acknowledge where you're at to go where you need to go. How did So again, going back to the book. So you guys, again, it's Live Your Dash. Um, eight Discovering the 8 F's to Freedom. Whew. Good thing I don't have a list. The focus dash, the fun dash, the finance dash, the forgiveness dash, the friendship dash, and the fitness dash. I think I got them all.
Faith
The family dash
and
and the
faith.
faith dash. I knew I was missing one. So family dash and faith dash. It was interesting last night when we were talking because this thing has been like gnawing in the back of my head and I'm not willing to acknowledge it right now. And we have agreed we don't have to, about a next journey. How has your faith impacted your family? Both before your daughter's faith was your daughter, you're now your angel daughter. That was her name. Before faith and then after faith. How has your faith always guided your family through that?
So before, I mean, we we didn't always believe the same thing. You know, I mean, when me and my wife first met, we didn't really have a strong belief system. And just through life experiences, I was raised in a church, but that's not something I really followed until I got older. And you know, I came to a point where I searched all over the world. I've been all over the world, and I've done all kinds of things, and I've lived a really full life. Even though I'm young, I've experienced a lot of stuff, and experiencing all that stuff never fulfilled me. It never gave me meaning. It never gave me purpose. It was just almost like a quick fix, you know, I mean, to help me feel better about myself in the moment, but nothing long lasting, nothing that meant anything ultimately. And through that, I became tired. I was exhausted, and I said, I'm struggling. And I decided that I was going to give my life over to God, and you know, and life has been completely different since. And then my wife followed suit, and my children as well, and then we all got baptized together, and we've been on this faith journey ever since. And what happened when, you know, my daughter passed away, you know, my faith was shaken to the core. You know what I mean? Because I would question God and doubt God, but it's okay to question and doubt God because that's when you grow. It's when you're 100% certain that he's there all the time, and that's where you don't grow because you get complacent. So I had to struggle, and I had to wrestle, and I had to search, and I had to dig deep, and that brought my faith it took my faith to a whole nother level because when she was with us and then she went to be with him, like I knew she went with him. I could literally feel his presence in the room. And I just, I had peace about it. You know what I mean? And it was just the greatest thing ever for her. You know, it was the worst thing ever for me and my family, but it was the best thing that ever happened to her. So I had to live in the tension of the worst day of my life was the greatest day in hers. And God told me faith is not circumstantial. God does not exist or not God doesn't exist or not exist based on what happens in our lives because God is outside the circumstances. He's bigger than the circumstances. And that's what I had to learn is like because something good happens doesn't mean God is real, or if something bad happens doesn't mean God is not real, because God is above and outside of all those things. So the biggest lesson I learned was that faith is not circumstantial, and our faith is now stronger because of that.
And thank you. And I think you do a really good job in your book of teaching that freedom is really about moving outside what you can see, like outside that immediate moment tactile experience that you really over and over again in the different stories, or as I come to sort of see them as different devotionals, really said there's bigger here. There's bigger where, like you now see a much longer picture I think in the way you write, I can feel the longer picture being explored. Not always seen necessarily, but like your awareness of like, I've got to stop being so short-sighted because that doesn't serve me. And that I think is really when you talk about discovering the freedom, it's not, getting free from financial debt. Maybe you do talk about how to achieve that or family harmony and things. It's really about getting free from having to react and instead step into a life of taking actions.
Right, absolutely.
When it comes to your family, and this is sort of a dad to dad question, how do you lead them in the faith that you want their dash someday to be filled?
So, I mean, I have a strategy that I use with my children, and for me, it's all about consistency. I mean, so I've had experiences in my life for people who claim to believe one thing and live something completely different. So, I mean, we're all human and we all make mistakes and we're not going to get it right all the time. But I just show my children the best that I can. My children and my wife, I show them the best that I can. That I am a human being who is flawed and has issues and have things that I have to work on. But I'm not going to stay there. I mean, it's all about trying to take one step forward and trying to grow and trying to get better. And so, we take the time, we read and we pray and we have discussion and conversation and we try to help people and we try to give all the glory to God and be consistent as we can. I mean, and understand that we're still going to blow it sometimes. Dad still going to mess up. Dad is still going to be a fool. Dad is going to lose his temper. Dad is going to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, and not think about others' feelings because sometimes I'm just naturally selfish. But God is working on me, and I'm trying to get better, and I'm trying to improve, and I'm trying to show them that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to do something foolish. It's not okay to not learn from it and try to do better the next time. So that's just something that as a family we try to be very consistent. We believe in helping others and living a generous life and helping those in need as best as we can.
I love it. By the way, you're getting like all these, you're a super dad, you're an amazing person.
I don't. Oh man, only my kids can vouch for me on that one.
But yeah, you might want to like copy those.
Yeah.
Or just print them out so when your wife says you messed up, you can be like, well, I've got a fan club on it. And you talk about it in your book but social media. So you've got a 10 and a 12-year-old. They are moving into a whole different realm of social media and influence. I mean, like that 10, back in my day, 10, we were still trying to figure out how to ride bicycles. These 10-year-olds, they are light years more exposed. How are you, and I want to use the word control, how are you controlling your influence versus the influence of social media and the values that you want your daughters to have?
Well, first, they don't have social media. And let me tell you, that's a battle I gotta face. You know what I mean? But especially with my.
Just so you know, they're looking at their friends' social media on the school
Absolutely, they're well aware of what's going on social media. Especially my oldest, she knows what's going on there, and she's been asking for it for a while, and the answer's been no. You're not having it. It's just plain and simple. Because what I've just learned is that, I'm on social media. But I will say, just in my experiences, that there's a lot of adults that should not be on social media. So, you know what I mean? And from saying that, if
some of them are
yeah, exactly. So if there's people on social media who are adults, who are not mature and responsible enough, I think we're doing a disservice giving it to children because I just don't feel they're all right. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, she's very mature and she's very responsible. And I trust her. It's just that I don't trust what else is going on there. You know what I mean? So we have an open conversation about this a lot. She asked to be on it. And then she tells me all the drama that's going on social media. So, and I'd let her know, I said, so you're telling me there's nothing but drama on social media? And she's like, yeah. I said, so why do you want to be on it? She's like, because all my friends are on it. I said, well, all your friends are caught up in drama. Do you want to live a drama-filled life? And she's like, no. So then she wavers back and forth. She wants to be in it because she wants to be included. But then at the same time, she has realized at a young age that it's full of drama. A lot of it is drama. So it's a tension that we live in, and we have these conversations regularly. She asks for it again, and then we have a conversation, and she tells me all these 10. I mean, every story she tells me about social media has not been positive. In their 12, 13-year-old world, it's not usually positive stuff. It's usually negative at that age. So I just have to remind her, well, if you want to, live a purposeful life, that there's some things you got to sacrifice and cut out. They just can't be a part of your life until you're older.
So you're going to be my mentor this month. How do you, like, and I don't know, but like sometimes my kids, you're the mean one, you're the ugly one, you're the worst dad ever. You don't understand. I'm not an old person like you. It's like, the speech.
Yeah.
And if you've got two girls, they can probably do it better than my 10-year-old son. How do you stand in that moment?
I think for me, we always go back to our family values and things that are important to us. You know what I mean? And, last I checked, social media is not one of our family values. It's an important tool, and yes, Dad uses it, but it's how you use things. I explained to them that I kind of use the reference with money. You know what I mean? Is where money is a neutral thing. Social media is a neutral thing. It's whose hands it's in is what gives it its meaning. So you can use money to hurt a lot of people, or you can use money to help a lot of people. It's the same with social media. You can use it to help people, or you can use it to hurt people. And from the things that you've been saying to me, I'm saying this to my daughter, is that people are using it to hurt people. And so by you joining and being part of that, you might be joining in on hurting people. And I know that you're not that kind of person, but they have an influence. And I just let them know, and they get mad and they pout and they fuss and they don't like me, and I'm strict and I'm over the top, and I hear all these things, and that's fine, and my wife hears it too from them. My wife probably hears it more because they're daddy's little girls, so sometimes they kind of give me a free pass because they love their dad, and they're maybe a little bit harsh on their mom. But I remind them of what we believe in and how we choose to live. We are not I don't believe we're called to live like everybody else. That's a big thing in our house, is that we're not called to be like everyone else. We're not going to live like everyone else, because if we lived like everyone else, I think we'd have a lot more chaos. Not to say that we don't have our own problems and our own issues, but I just believe that we're meant to be leaders. And, if we're just following the crowd, we're just influenced by whatever's trending, and we want to focus on what's the truth, and the truth doesn't change no matter what happens in culture.
You guys, there's a whole lot of lessons for me in that. Not sure about y'all. So you said it doesn't align with our family values. Are your family values written, like printed out, or are they just discussed?
So they're discussed. I had one of my daughter, she's like an artist, so I asked my family what's important to them, and she actually, we'll have to redo another one. I misplaced the one, but yeah, it was written out. It was written out, our family mission statement of what's important to us, and we all did it as a family. They just kind of stated things that were important to them. We just kind of put that on paper, and as a reminder, this is what we believe, this is how we want to live, and we want to do things and be around people who are heading in the same direction. And there's people who are not heading in the same direction. We want to help them go in the right direction. We want to help them as best as we can. Obviously, not everybody wants help or thinks they need help, and that's fine. They probably think we need help, but that's okay. We just want to surround ourselves with people who are heading on the same path in the same direction. And for those who are not, we want to bring them on the journey with us.
So I think it's interesting because on Wednesday's Q&A Wednesday, I told you guys about having that written family value where instead of parenting from reaction, you can parent from alignment and say, wait a minute, is that in alignment with who we are or what we've agreed or what our values are? And as you had said, I don't think social media is one of our values. And so you didn't have to necessarily take on the argument of family or social media. You've got to say, look, I'm okay with social media if you can convince me how it's in alignment with our family values. I'm okay with whatever you want, but you have to show me that it's in alignment with who we want. versus me always having to be the gatekeeper. And it's a great way of parenting. So kudos to
Thank
you.
you.
And I love the lesson that money is just a tool, like social media is a tool. In the right hands, it can lift people up. In the wrong hands, it can divide families. And so I've never really thought of social media in that same element as money because I often coach and teach that money's it's just a tool. It's a resource to use to buy goods and services to create the impact in the world you want. And so let's not worry about the money. Let's worry about how much of that tool we need to create the impact. And you're telling your daughters, you don't need that big of a tool yet. Your world's too small.
Right, yeah. There's, there's other things that need to be focused on before you get there, in my opinion.
Trust me, and I told you I had been a foster parent for a long time. This summer, we had like 4 teenage girls between like 15 and 17 in our house. Oh my gosh. The drama that was the result of social media at 11 o'clock at night. And we got to the point we would shut off the Wi-Fi, but they would lean out the window like as we're driving, trying to pull it from McDonald's and things like that. And just so you know, I couldn't take away their devices because by foster care standards, if it's their, like, it was a long rule, but we could turn off the Wi-Fi in the house. So I would see them as we're driving down the street looking for like free Wi-Fi just to check in on their friends. Um, oh my gosh, yes. I think social media needs to be banned from anybody under, well, I was going to say 18, but I think it might be 30. What is the thing? I'm sorry. I love when people have arguments with their
Oh
family on
my,
social
isn't that
media. It's
amazing?
like you realize the world is watching. You realize we can see you. It's not just you and your sister arguing over something. Um, so again, live your dash, discovering the 8 F's to freedom. When you look at your current dash, what is the one thing you're most proud of? Like, man, you know what? I'm living this right. And that's not an ego statement, but you feel in harmony with it.
I mean, man, that's a tough question. Um, I'd say through the experience of going through what I went through, is that my wife and I, we have been able to kind of see what friendship is all about. Um, it's very important. I truly believe you become who you hang with. I truly believe that your friends determine the direction and quality of your life, like Andy Stanley says. And so, surrounding myself with people who they're just better than me. You know, I really do. I really believe that my closest of friends, they're just better men than I am, and they inspire me, and I want to be like them. Not like, you know, be who they are, but the characteristics and qualities of what makes them who they are, I admire and respect deeply. And I firmly believe every friendship that I have directly influences my wife. It influences my children, and it also influences my grandchildren who aren't even born yet. Because the people who I bring into my home, I'm showing my wife what friendship is. I'm showing my children what friendship is. So my standard is that I want to be friends with men who I want my daughters to marry someday. And that's the standard of friendship that I have. And if my friends aren't up to the standard of or the kind of man that I want my daughters to marry, why am I being friends with them and showing them a man what a man shouldn't be? So I want to show them a man that I hope that they would marry someday. And I could say that my closest of friends are men that I want my daughters to marry, men like them, similar to them. Because if I'm showing them the wrong kind of men to hang with, they're going to look at it, oh, those are the kind of people my dad hung out with. You know, maybe that's the kind of man that I should date or a kind of man that I should marry. And I just don't think that's right, you know?
Ooh, man, you just like push the standard.
It's an extremely high standard, I'm aware.
I,
It's almost
I,
impossible, but I'm
I
going to
mean,
try it anyways.
I don't want to appear uncomfortable, but I'm uncomfortable now. Um, my friendships reflect the type of people that I want my daughter to marry.
Yes, that's the standard for me.
How many men could honestly say that like their golf buddy, their poker buddy, their Super Bowl watch party buddies would be somebody that they would want to have their daughters marry?
Almost none.
Yeah, and I'm not judging anybody in my circle. That if you're watching, if you're wondering, you're one of these. This is general speak. You know, there are men who have been married multiple times. There are men who, have tempers that are controlled only, mild. Yeah, man, I can see that's a hard standard.
I know it is, and let me tell you, it's not easy.
How does that keep you from being well, I guess I would assume that there are periods of loneliness then.
Well, I mean, there's friends that I've known for a long time, who I would consider, oh, that's my best friend. I've known him 10 years. I've known him 20 years, 25 years. I've known them my whole life. I mean, those are friends that, and I talk about it in the book, those are friends you want to hold on to because you've known them forever. You grew up with them. You know their parents. They know your parents. You know their siblings. I mean, you guys know everyone in each other's family because you grew up together. And what I've learned is that just because you've been friends for 20, 30 years or your entire life, that does not mean that they are the best friend for you. And I've heard the definition of a best friend is someone who brings the best out of you. So when I heard that definition, I said, yeah, they've been friends with me my whole life, but they're not bringing the best out of me. I mean, and I kind of want to hold a standard to my friends. I want them to, and maybe it's me being picky and over the top, but I want to hang with.
Hold the standard. Do not let me talk you down.
So there's like 4 or 5 areas that I look for my friends to meet. I mean, because I really believe who you hang with, you become, and I want to become the best man of God I can be. So a lot of my friends.
So what are the 4 areas?
So I would first say, obviously, we're following the same God, because no matter what you believe in, whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, you're an atheist, you have a God, you're serving God right now. No matter what you believe in, whatever is God is number one in your life. God is number one. Your God is what you spend the most time, attention, and money on. That is your God, whatever that may be. It could be a million things. It could be a new car, a new house, your job. It could even be your relationships. Whatever is the most important to you is your God. And so I want to surround myself with men who, the God, the creator of the world, that's their God. We serve the same God and are on the same path. That's number one, because that's the most important relationship in my life, is my relationship with God. 2, husband. So for men, and obviously I have friends who don't fall into all 4 of these categories, and that's fine. But they got to fall into a couple of them. That's how they got to fall into some. They got to fall. They got to get at least 2. I mean, they got to be in at least 2. Okay, some of them are all 4, some of them are 3, some of them are 1 or 2. Some of them are all of them at least 2. After God and being a good husband, because I think the breakdown of the family is the breakdown of society. So that, to me, every problem almost is rooted in selfishness, and which leads to family problems, which leads to society, and the whole world is caused by chaos in the home. That's where it all starts. All the chaos that we see on TV and in the news started in someone's living room. That's what I believe. And then after that is obviously being a great father. That's really important to me. I want to hang out with men who are committed and dedicated as parents, and want to love their children and raise them to pass the baton on to the next generation. And then after that is being a great member of society, somebody who wants to give back, somebody who wants to serve and volunteer and help those in need, just overall being a better man. And that just means helping people. So that's my standard, and those are the kind of men that I want to surround myself with, and those are the kind of men that I want my children to witness of what a man should be like. And I know the standard is crazy high, and I have maybe some of my friends don't agree with that and think that I don't know, maybe they think I'm arrogant for holding such a high standard, and that's fine, and I can accept that, and I can take that criticism. But when it comes to my spiritual walk and my journey as being a husband and father, I'm not taking it very lightly, because it's something I take very seriously, because it's very important.
So faith, husband, father, and servant.
Yes.
Or service.
Yep.
Now, does your wife have the same standard for her girlfriends?
No. She probably thinks I'm insane.
So do you ever get, and I mean, if you want to bleep over this for security purposes. Do you ever get in the argument or the discussion of like, I don't think that's the right girlfriend for us as a couple, as a family, as a faith?
I mean, my wife has great friends. You know, I mean, she's a wise woman, and she's taught me so much, and she's just amazing in the love of my life, and she's the best. But as far as that tension goes, we've definitely had that conversation. Um, to me, I think because we want, me and her want to grow so much, is that we're going to continue to have these conversations. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. So we've had disagreements on certain friends, and there's been certain friends of mine that she didn't like, and there's probably been some of her friends that I didn't agree with, and that's because we were still trying to live in two worlds. We're trying to say, oh, you know, we're trying to be all in on following God, but we're just doing things that were contrary to our beliefs, you know, and just living a life that was like, you know what, this probably isn't. I think we're trying to head in a different direction. That sometimes, even if you love them, you gotta, and you want to be loyal. You know what I mean? You want to be loyal to these friends, but you got to be more loyal to your future. You got to be more loyal to your marriage and more loyal to your children. That's what I just kind of have to deal with, is that some friends may think, oh, I forgot about them, or I changed, or I think I'm too good. And they may say that, and that's fine. But the bottom line is that I'm more loyal to being the best husband and the best father and best man of God and servant that I can be. And if you're not clicking on the cylinders with me, then I'm going to love you from afar. I'm still going to have your back, but I got to limit your influence.
You are wise, Mr. Jesse. I have got to limit your influence because when I bring you in proximity to my priorities, my faith, my wife, my children, and my ability to serve others, I get pulled off my task. And I have said that these four things, and I love that the list is so small and simple, that these four things come first. And if somewhere and sometime how I have room for a fifth or a sixth, then we'll talk. But right now, I have got to limit your influence into my four priority zones. Because if I don't, I'm off mission.
And then I'm living their dash and not living mine. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that. They get pulled into someone else's dash and someone else's life. Everyone has their own race to run. And if you don't want to run with me, that's fine. I'm not going to stay there and run with me. You don't have to run with me. But this is the race that I'm going to run, and you can run with me or you can run off somewhere else, and I'm fine either way.
That, you guys, like I said, see, I always have to figure out where so Live Your Dash, Discovering Your 8 F's to Freedom. It's on Amazon. We're going to post Jesse's direct link later. It was funny because as we wrap up, it was funny because last night when we were doing the test drive, you said, how did you connect to me? And I was like, I'm not really sure how I saw your name. I either saw your book cover somewhere. And I was like, And I tried, and like I told you last night, not in a creepy stalker way, but it's like, I'm the guy when I'm watching TV, and even like I love documentary kind of history TV shows, like docudramas where it's a little drama but more history. I'll be like Googling the facts, like, oh, is that true? Did that really happen? What happened after that event? And so I think I bumped across your name or your book cover or a comment, and I was like, interesting. I need to find out more about this. And so I Googled you, I Facebooked you. You don't use social media a lot, I'm going to say. But all of a sudden I reached out to you and I was like, tell me more about your book. You sent me a copy of the book. I received it and started reading it. I was like, now I know why I needed to know more about him. Today's interview only affirmed that more, that you were really brought through my visual field, my screen, because you are a phenomenal father. You are a phenomenal man of faith. That's not to say to elevate you or pedestal you, but your focus and desire to do it right is very evident, my friend. Very
Thank
evident.
you.
And the lessons that you bring, not only in the book, but this morning, man, am I bringing people into the house that I would allow my kids to marry into? And that goes for both genders. My son, would I allow him to marry some of the people that walk through our front door, and vice versa? That's a tough one. I mean, that's a tough one. And then loving a friend from afar because they'll pull you off your mission, and that it's okay to be angry. You are a wisdom man, wisdom man.
I don't know
Um,
about that. I'm just trying to learn, you know.
so as we wrap up, what is one, like, instead of the dash, if there was one word that they would put in before, born on this date, live this way, die that way on that date, what would you want the dash to be replaced with as a word?
Love. I
Love.
think that no matter what, without love, we're all empty and broken. And that's in any relationship, that love is the thing that keeps humans breathing. You know what I mean? I think love is what keeps them why they wake up. And you know, a lot of people have a harder time getting up because they don't know what love is. So they have a hard time living a purposeful, meaningful dash because the most important element in the world is love.
I have to agree, and I'm sure you could feel Faith, your daughter Angel Love, you could feel her love even in those 42 days.
Oh, absolutely.
And it, like I said, it's a weird, when I say a weird thing, that's something so small, so unexposed to the world's both joy and pain, can be so committed to loving another person that they'll reach out and try and grab your little finger.
Yeah,
You know that that love has to come from someplace beyond the moment.
absolutely. Love is, this book is, this is my love letter to her and to the world. Love is what wrote this book, nothing else.
And it's a good book. I tell you, it's a good book, y'all. Um, Again, if you when you get the book, in the introduction, you expressed that you should take each one of the areas, the faith, the family, the fitness, the finance, um, as a week-long read. As I was talking to you last night, and I said, I'm like really slowing down. I mean, typically, the rate that I read, I could have had this done in 6 hours, maybe. Um, I'm really slowing down because I see each of these as really a lesson or a devotional for the day. And so I want to thank you for writing a book that I'm probably going to be hanging out with you through the book
Hmm.
for quite a
That's fine. I
while.
hope, I look forward to it.
I mean, and I might be having to ask you direct messages about different ones, as I go forward. So tell people how they can get in connection with you. What are you doing? What is your vision now that the book is free and it's out there on, you're like got it off your desk and it's out there in the world. What do you want it to do and how do you want to use it?
So, during this process of writing it, the vision was that I'm going to reach 1 million people. That's the goal. That's what's going to happen. Not because I'm something great or something special or I'm the greatest author ever, because I'm definitely not. But I just believe that there was a big mission and vision ahead of me in my life through my daughter, that these 1 million people are going to get reached. You know what I mean? And so I've already written the second book. Not to get off topic, but I already wrote the second book that's going to get edited and published. That's about my daughter Faith's life, who's inspired this book. But this second book is going to be about everyday experience in the hospital, and what she went through. The plan is to make a movie based on that book. I'm trying to get in contact with scriptwriters and make a full-length movie of the second book.
I have a script writer for you.
Yeah, definitely like to connect with that individual. And with the book, like I said, the goal is to reach 1 million people. I want to get it in every library in my area, every Barnes and Noble, which I got it in one over here, and then college campuses, schools, all the bookstores in this area, and then do conference and speaking engagements as well. So I have speaking engagements coming up, so book signings coming up. So my goal is just to get people to take one step closer to where you want to be in life. I'm not asking you to make the biggest commitment of your life and do something crazy and extravagant, but just to make one stride in the right direction, one day at a time. Live your dash one F at a time.
So, and you're in
I'm in
Buffalo,
upstate. I'm
outside
upstate New
Buffalo?
York, about 30 minutes outside of Rochester.
Ah, upstate. Upstate. So if you're in the upstate Rochester area, hey, you know where to find Jesse. And the website link for your book to get directly with you is?
So people can find me on social media. Just look my name up on social media, Jess A Cruz, or my business page, Jesse A Cruz. Live Your Dash. And then also, obviously, for people who want to contact me, also a different way if they don't have Facebook is through email, which is authorjessecruz@gmail.com. I respond on Facebook and email as well, and we can continue the conversation and dialogue about the book from there. Eric, I just wanted to say,
Don't forget the E, you guys. Don't forget the E.
yeah. You got to spell it right. Some people I know don't know how to spell my name, but we won't say who that is. And I also just wanted to say, Eric, I really appreciate what you're doing. It's obviously that you're a caring, humble guy that just wants to help people and make a difference in this world. So it's an honor and a privilege to be on this show with you and to take the time out your day to share this message. And I'm just so beyond grateful for what you do, not just for me, but for everybody else. It's obviously that you're a caring man, and I truly admire and respect who you are.
No, I appreciate that, and I'll receive it. But I tell you, like I said, it was a series of this and that's that connected you, and clearly there was a message that you were divinely asked to bring to me. And as uncomfortable as I am in receiving it, I'm going to try and dial in. Yes, I've got a movie to watch that we talked about as well. I do, and I will talk to. There's a couple people that I really feel are great connectors to you. Daniel Gomez is somebody that I think the two of you would just like completely share a message and share a journey together. So that is part of what everybody else that's in the room. Remember that Success Life Live is really a community of people wanting to live intentionally to make an impact in the world through whatever talents and gifts they have. And so as you listen to Jesse's story, as you read his book, if you purchase it, and you're like, man, I know who he needs to help him get his message bigger, better, louder. Connect. I mean, I love connecting people to people, and I love using social media as a way of connecting to people, because I would have never learned that lesson about who's coming through my front door had it not been for this social media. So use it like money for good, not evil. Find a way to take this message, share it, copy it, whatever you need to do so it reaches the right people. Because I can tell you, there's dads that are needing your lesson, Jesse. Now, I'm not the only one. And so I hope it reaches. Everybody, remember, this goes up on YouTube, and then later today I'll convert it to a podcast, so you have different ways of making it go out and about. Again, my friend Jesse with an E, A Cruz, you're a phenomenal father. Your daughters are blessed to have somebody that's willing to hold the line for them. You are not a weak man, my friend. You are not a weak man.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Everybody else, I'll see you on Monday morning at 8 a.m. for another Success Life Live. Have a great weekend.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.